DNVR Avalanche Podcast brought to you by Bet365. This is Big E back from a little bit of craziness yesterday where I couldn't jump on. And then obviously Rudo will be jumping on here very shortly. Hope everybody had a great Monday. I'll tell you one thing. We'll talk Four Nations today. We'll talk the four rosters of all those nations, being Sweden, Finland, Canada, and U.S. I got my USA Hockey hat on for all the purposes. Obviously, dual citizen, but I'll be a Team USA guy because you'll see my predictions. Yeah, and if you're ever in the New England area one year and you don't know what to do on a Monday in February, I suggest you go to the Bean Pot. Unbelievable college event. It's amazing. It is so fun. My wife, my daughter were there. To be honest with you, they've seen a lot of hockey, but they're not the biggest hockey. And then they couldn't stop talking about how unbelievable it was and how fun it was. And so, here it is, the Bean Pot. It's 72nd Bean Pot. So kind of like the gold pan a little bit that we get in Denver between CC and DU, but there it's the four BU schools, right? The Boston schools, right? BU, BC, Harvard, and Northeastern. And it's the first 2 Mondays in February. And boy, oh boy, the bands come out, the students come out to pack TD Garden, and it's a fun time. It was on NHL Network yesterday, so and the place was rocking. But anyway, back to today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Four Nations. Like I said, Rudo will be joining in here shortly, and we'll be talking rosters and what's everybody thinking about the rosters and what's everybody thinking about the tournament, and B, all the lineups and all the it sounds like Canada's already announced their starting goalie. It's going to be Bennington for the first game coming up. So yeah. It's an exciting time for the National Hockey League. You got to remember, yes, it is a little different in the sense that the league is gearing back up to go to 2026 Olympics. Obviously, that's been put on hold there the last few years with part of the CBA not being added into it, the international game. So I think this one is more like a little bit of yes, it is an exhibition. It is not, obviously there's only four nations. There's no Russia or Czechia or Slovakia or Czechia, sorry, not Czechia, we call them now. Germany or Switzerland. So it's only four nations, which leaves out a lot of, obviously prominent NHL players that are not part of any of those four nations. So, but you know what? It's a springboard, like I said, to 2026 for the Olympics and the NHL to get back on taking a little bit of a break, which as a player, I loved it. As management, didn't love it. Don't like to see your players go away and play for a different sweater. But it is what it is, and it does condense the schedule too. So somewhere you got to give and you got to take, and I think that somewhere somehow the format, we'll see. When the puck drops, I don't know what to tell you. Is it going to be? I don't think it's going to be like an all-star game where guys don't really care. I think guys are going to care. I think the tempo is going to be better than I originally thought last summer, where I'm going to be like, oh, guys aren't going to care. It sounds like guys are caring. It sounds like guys are excited to be there. I just look no further than we'll talk about it, but Drew Doughty being added, and he's only played a couple games this year, and he was like so pumped to be added to the team. So, and again, it's also an audition for some guys for the 2026 Olympic teams, respectively. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to be something that. Obviously is a test for the NHL. I'm not saying this is going to be something that's done all the time, but obviously it's a good test. I don't think you're going to see the same thing as the intensity of, let's say, the World Cup. The like '96 when USA won, for example, and then I don't remember the last one. Was it? I don't remember, honestly. You know, that's usually before training camps of their respective teams. And so I don't know. There's never a good time or a bad time, but I think it's better than an all-star game, which for me, it's more about the sponsors and the league and, the PR side of things, which is fine. But this Four Nations thing is, again, like I said, who knows what to expect. I do think that as it's getting closer, I'm a little bit more excited to see what is going to happen. So why don't we just here a little bit? And here's Rudo. Look at that dude. That dude just showed up there. And
the USA hat, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's what I was telling Chad. Dual citizenship, but you'll see in my predictions. But anyway, what we've been talking about for 5 minutes, I've just been talking about. I don't know if you could hear just about how this is a different format this year. It's something they're trying, obviously, just to springboard them to the 2026, back to the Olympics for, best on best international hockey, which we haven't seen for a few years, wasn't part of the CBA for all the reasons. And then COVID got something to do with that as well last time. And then, so who knows? This summer we had to talk about it. We had a show on it. I was a little bit skeptical on what the pace was going to be, which I'm rephrasing it now. I'm saying it's going to be better than I thought. That's me. That's my opinion. That's what I've been saying the last few minutes. And again, this is something that I expect it to be a lot better than an all-star game that we've seen the last few years. And I do think that somewhere, somehow, there's an audition part to this where they're auditioning for their respective national teams for the 2026 Olympics. So, unfortunately, you don't have all the nations there, so a lot of prominent NHL players are having some time off. And look no further than the great one, the great eight, Ovi, for example, which can only help them on this chase to the record where all of a sudden they're not playing. I mean, do they have anyone? They don't even have anyone, right, at the Four Nations? So, I mean, there you go. For their team, that's great, because they get to have a little bit of a break. So, anyway, that's where we were. And we were just about to, I didn't know if you wanted to touch on anything else before we get going.
Yeah, I mean, since we're talking about that, I do think I'm skeptical of the actual pace that we'll see. I think it will be better than an all-star game. I think that's a good point. But I don't know how hard, especially the top guys, will be going in a tournament like this. My expectations are pretty low. Obviously, we don't have to get into the details. It is a little bit disappointing that there isn't more players here. Some of that for justified reasons globally. But also, I'm a little disappointed the NHL didn't try to do something like a Team Europe or something. If they felt like there wasn't enough European players from certain countries to put an entire team together, try to do something to get those guys at an event like this, because you're missing out on so much
last
talent.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like last time, yeah. What was it again last time? It was the young guns or whatever, and then it was Team Europe. Was it called Team Europe? Yeah.
Yeah. The under 23s. Yeah,
that's right. And then Slovenia and the Kopitar's of the world were all bunched in with Germany and all that stuff.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, you're right. That's maybe something that I'm sure they thought about it, but it'd be fun to know the reasons why not, right? You know what I mean? And then you get a little bit of a bigger pool. It's a short tournament. Maybe adding a 15 would have been disastrous for the schedule. Who knows? I don't know.
I did have one other question for you before we really dive into the lineups and things like that. Obviously, people in Avs fandom have joked about, Sidney Crosby's going to get to play with Nathan McKinnon in this tournament, and he can convince him to become an Av or whatever. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, But does that actually do things like that actually happening? Is a tournament like this where a conversation maybe starts between two guys of, hey, you should consider coming to our team to win a cup or whatever it is?
Yeah, and I think it's always been there. It's a great point. I didn't even think about it until you just brought it up. Look no further. I mean, look, sorry, I'm a bit older. Look further towards, let's say, Canada Cup, the Canada like '87 Canada Cup, and you can see guys that there's some friendships that start there. You know what I mean? Because they're guys, they're superstars, and they get to know one another because they get to play with each other for a few weeks, and all of a sudden the relationships form. Then you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like right nowadays they don't have roommates, but back then they had roommates. Next thing you and me are roommates, and you're a star player from a different team. It sparks up a conversation. I don't care what people say. It's there. It's a fact. Within the norms and everything, it's kind of like, again, what you said. It's an audition for guys for the Olympic teams and stuff. Sometimes it's an audition too to see if there's any chemistry, and if you're about to pull, like you said, I'll go there. Fine, I didn't want to go there, but Crosby and with Makar and on the power play, you know what I mean, like in McKinnon. How does that fit? Well, you get to see it there. You know what I mean? You get to see how that works. You get a free look if you're. And again, I said I can't believe I'm going there, but I'm going there as an example. I don't want to spark any rumors. I'm just going there as an example. But it's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll actually happen when it comes to Crosby or anything like that, but maybe it's the start of something, and in a month someone will say, I talked with this guy and he really convinced me this was the place to go, or whatever it is. So could have an impact on that front. We'll see exactly how that is. Am I to assume you're rooting for USA with that hat on? Do you think they're going to win? Who you got?
Listen, I'm a proud Canadian, as you guys know, raised and born in Montreal. Obviously married an American here in Denver, and got my citizenship. Obviously, the kids are American. Everybody was born here, as you know. But in hockey, you always get that dual, right? Because of the parents. So, it is. My thoughts are we'll go over the rosters and everything. I do believe USA's got the best roster. That's just my point. That's just my view. And maybe I'm wrong. And again, there's a reason for that. We'll get to it when we get there. But that's why. And I didn't have a Team Canada hat on. So the first one I saw in the closet, there was USA. So I said, all right, since we're talking Four Nations, I'll put one of them on. And to answer the Speedo, we're going to figure that one out as it gets warmer a little bit.
It's
see where I'm at.
Cold. Way too cold.
Way too cold for a Speedo.
Arctic freeze.
Man, we don't want to see a Speedo run, but we'll figure something out. Maybe I'll run with a Speedo in my hand like this. You know what I mean? Like, again, I never said I'll be wearing a Speedo. No, we'll talk about that. We'll have some fun with it.
That's definitely a summer event. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. If any of these teams won the event, it wouldn't surprise me. So there are four really good teams as far as these Four Nations are concerned. I do think there are some gaps in some of their lineups, though, and we'll get into all that in just a minute. But whether you think USA is going to win or not, do you think they're the favorite? Do you think Canada's the favorite? I know we've talked a lot about they might be weak in goaltending, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll just use Larkin's comment today. I was reading, I was listening to some from practices from, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, and he's like, somebody asked him about, hey, what's it feel like? Kind of weird. Team USA, you guys are favorite. And then he's like, well, I mean, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? If you look at the schedule, it kind of favors Canada because they got, so to speak, 2 home games. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's right. True. You know what I mean? For the preliminaries, right? So, I mean, that's a fair point by Larkin. You know what I mean? Who knows how that's going to play out? But, yeah, I mean, you get the Canada. I mean, I grew up in those Canada Cups. I know how it is. And it's nuts in Montreal. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. The patriotic atmosphere I'm talking about. It's going to be really fun to watch. Yeah, and then obviously moves on to Boston after where, I mean, again, I was telling the chat there that Beanpot last night, if you're ever in the area, oh my God, that garden, TD Garden was absolutely rocking. And my wife was like, oh my God, it's not like that during like an NHL game. I'm like, no, I know it's a different atmosphere, different crowd, different thing. And that's the same thing with these Four Nations. You're going to get more an international crowd as well. And as we know, it's always a little crazier when it's international, you know, crowd, some sort of chants and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch in both buildings.
Yeah, if the USA makes it to that last game, I guess it would be a home game for them, kind of. So
Exactly. Exactly. So
all right,
Larkin was right a little bit.
yeah, a little bit right. But we will get
Yeah.
into these rosters in just a second. Here, first, we are going to pay some bills here for you, as of course we are brought to you by the amazing Coors Light, the beer made to chill. If you're in the TD Garden, maybe you're drinking a Coors Light, enjoying the Bean Pot, or any other hockey game going on, whatever it might be. Maybe you're sitting at home watching the Nuggets because there's not a whole lot of hockey on right now. That's when you can choose chill with Coors Light. You got the snow outside. That's honestly one of my favorite things is when you get a lot of snow and you just stick some beers out there in the snow to let them get cold. And then with Coors Light, mountains turn blue on the bottle of the can. You just look out your window, you see that, you're good to go. You're ready to chill. It's that easy when it comes to Coors Light, and it's even easier to get it, as you can get it delivered right to your front door thanks to CoorsLight.com/DNVR and Instacart. You don't even have to get up off your couch to get your ice-cold Coors Lights ready to go, delivered to your front porch. It's the best way to choose chill. So make sure you're choosing chill with CoorsLight.com/DNVR, or you're picking it up at your local liquor store, whatever it might be. Of course, get with Coors Brewing Company. Please drink responsibly. Golden, Colorado. Then, once you've got a Coors Light, you know what goes good with beery? Pizza. Sexy pizza, in fact. Go get yourself some sexy pizza. Of course, they're serving delicious by the slice pizzas. You can also get their daily special combo, which comes with a drink. If you go to a place that serves alcohol, that drink can be a beer or a wine, whatever you're feeling with sexy pizza. And they're more than just pizza, too, though. They're part of the community, always doing fundraisers, always supporting local sports teams at every level from elementary schools all the way on up. They even have a ton of different sports, including football, wrestling, tennis, cheerleading, and more. So make sure you're getting over to Sexy Pizza and being part of the community. And right now, you can get 15% off with Sexy Pizza when you use code DNVR online or in store. That's code DNVR15. Go to Sexy Pizza, get your pizza there, serving sustainability, community, and hand-tossed pizza in Colorado. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's start with Team Canada, because I think there is the most interesting Avalanche storylines when it comes to Team Canada at the Four Nations. Now, obviously, their forward core, stupid. I mean, this is dumb. McKinnon, McDavid, Crosby. So many centers that McKinnon, well, he did switch to center at one point and Crosby was on the wing, but they have too many centers that all their centers are playing wing. You have guys like Reinhart and Marner, Mark Stone. The lineup is frankly ridiculous, and it really doesn't stop on the back end, too. Taves and Makar at the top pairing, but then you throw Theodore, Doughty, Morrissey, and Parayko, too. When you ignore the goaltending, that team is silly.
Yeah, and I think you said the word right there, and that's the word that I'm worried about, and I think Chat's talking about it. I think Randy's picking up from what is it, AWolf X there. My question mark for me there is, we talked about it last summer, is the goaltending. Man, oh man. Yeah, I agree. When they made the announcement and when they made the pick, which was a while ago, absolutely. If you're looking at it today, Logan Thompson is absolutely snubbed. Logan Thompson has been one of the best goalies in the NHL this year. There's no reason. And there was some people saying that he wasn't well liked in Vegas, and that's Cassidy is part of the staff and all that kind of stuff, and they didn't want to deal with him, and DeBoer didn't like him either, maybe, or something, or I don't know. Is Pete part of that staff too? I don't know. It seems like the staff is so big.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Talk is there. USA. I was looking at the team picture. Holy crap! There's like 87 coaches. But anyway, I do believe that. Again, no offense to anyone. You're going to say, "Oh, Bennington's won," and you can win a Conn Smythe and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at the last 5 years, somebody said that today. I heard that in the last 5 years, he's been one of the best goalies in the NHL. If you sum up all the stats of the last 5 years, but if you look at it this year, he hasn't really been good. He's mid-pack, right? Of all the starters in the NHL, and obviously this is for one
Not
country,
even,
but not even. Okay, well, again, of the pack of maybe the Canadians, or I don't know. I don't even know how many Canadians there are, but I just feel that it's a little bit there, and then it goes down to Hill, and again, Hill, you love or hate him, right? Again, he's won the cup 2 years ago, so he must. He's a capable guy. And Montembeault was the guy that was carrying, the Montreal Canadiens. Again, it's kind of tailed off a little bit, and which I thought was and again, he's one of my fellow, Quebecers, so I'm not going to put him down. It's a great story. But I don't know. He's never really played a playoff game. He's never played, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to, these are crazy games, right? Every game matters because the tournament is so short that I don't think they're going to turn to him, in my book. Obviously, they've already announced that Binnington's the guy, to start with. But I think Hill would be the second guy. But if you go down to three goalies, it's not looking good. You know what I mean? Unless there's an injury, but I don't think that would look good.
Let me read some numbers to you. Binnington this season, .897 save percentage, .289 goals against average. Montembeault, .897 save percentage, 3 flat goals against average. Adin Hill, .900 save percentage, .264 goals against average. Pretty blah. And sure, if you want to talk about Logan Thompson, fair enough. But let's talk about Mackenzie Blackwood.
Oh, no,
917 with a .253 goals against average. The dude has been better than all 3 goalies on Team Canada. And I get they picked them so early. Maybe they should have waited. Maybe they should have waited to make their decisions a little bit later. And here is my bigger argument. Even though they picked them early, let's look at their career stats. Jordan Binnington, 906. 2.8 goals against average. Mackenzie Blackwood, 906 with a 2.98 goals against average. So even on their career trajectories, Blackwood's numbers are just about as good as the starter for Team Canada here.
I love Mackenzie, you know that. So for me, I would. Again, the Olympics are coming. Right, you know what I mean. So now he's going to have been with a nice team, and who knows? Maybe he's going to have a nice run in the playoffs, and then your pedigree all of a sudden looks better, and then being on the again. Sorry, Macklin. I saw Macklin yesterday, but bad team in San Jose. You know what I mean? And then
they're bad.
I know. I'm just like you got to be part of a rebuild. It is what it is. But I think in net sometimes you tend to forget that they're the guys that really get the raw end of the deal. You know what I mean? Because some guys can pad their stats up front, and maybe because they're scoring and whatever it is. And in the net, your numbers are not going to be the best. You know what I mean? Maybe your save percentage, if they're but your goals against shouldn't be. So I think Mackenzie should easily be in there. Could easily be in there, and I think again his audition is more like this spring here with the Avalanche. You know what I mean? To see what he's got, to see what he can do for the 2026 Olympic team. So, I listen. Look at that thing down the middle. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like McDavid Crosby. I get it why they put Nate on the wing there. I get that. A point is your guy that can play against anybody. Obviously, and so skilled, and so is Cirelli, right? That's your fourth line / in a roster like this. That same thing can play against anybody, and you're not going to be overmatched. He plays against all the good players in the National Hockey League. So a little bite to that line. Hagel plays with bite. Cirelli certainly doesn't shy away from it, and Sammy Bennett, obviously, we all know that he can be the guy that's, if you need a little bit of momentum, and so I don't mind that they've added that to their lineup, and Jarvis and Marchand, they're together. I'm sure it's going to be annoying as crap for a lot of teams. You know what I mean? Because I don't think Marchand can turn off the the competitiveness. Especially, you know what I mean? I was reading today. I saw a couple interviews. He was saying that he was kind of excited to play with Jarvis, and I think there's a little bit of what do you call that? Like funny dudes. You know what I mean? Like it's Jarvis is pretty funny, and so I got a
Sure.
little bit of personality there. And then, Stone is such a great defensive player. We might hate him and all that kind of stuff because of the cap shenanigans and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Mark Stone's is a hell of a player. Then you got Reinhart and Marner and McDavid. I mean, it's kind of scary when you look at that. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And then you tend to forget about the back end because we talk about the goaltending being like very suspect. But you got Taze McCarr. I mean, Theodore, I'm a big fan of. Always been a big fan of Shea. And then, Morrissey, whether we like the Jets or not, he's a big part of that team. And then you got a big dude on the right side, and Doughty is no slouch either. So, you know what I mean? So they got the lefty-righty combo. Sanheim is their extra guy. So, I mean, listen, this is very well balanced. It could easily, a lot of people are going to pick these guys to win. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Just look at it. It jumps at you.
Let me ask you this, because I'm looking at this lineup. McDavid, Edmonton, near the top of the division, trying to win a cup. Reinhart, Bennett, Florida, trying to defend their Stanley Cup. Marner in Toronto, always going for it. Tampa's kind of getting to the end of their window, but they're still going for it. Obviously, the Avs guys going for it. Stone and Hill in Vegas, they're at the top of the Pacific. Even a guy like Doughty in LA, that team is really good this year. I only really see a guy like maybe Sanheim at the bottom of that pile of defensemen, and then Parayko and Binnington in St. Louis. Is there any world where maybe this Canada team is sandbagging a little bit? They try to get out of this tournament early, save their legs for their actual NHL season?
I don't think so. I think once you get there, once you put the sweater, that's where I'm changing my tune from last summer. I think you get excited and you get really, really pumped about. And again, I am saying, and I'll say it again, the 2026 Olympics. Guys want to be on the team. It's been gone for so many years now that this is kind of a appetizer, you know what I mean, like, so to speak, of what's to come. I don't think so. I don't think teams are gonna. I think they're going in there. Just look no further than Doughty. He was so excited, right, to jump in there and to prove his worth and to make sure that they oversee, they overlook a guy like Mackenzie Weegar that's played all year long, and that's played really well as a righty. So they like the experience of that Doughty has with international hockey, and I do believe I do believe they're trying to win. You know what I mean? And it's going to be exciting, more exciting than I thought. Like I said. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I said it right before you jumped on. I'm like, until we got the drop of the puck and really see what pace that is, you know what I mean? Like, we can be skeptical. I think it's normal. But I think they're going to go for it. And I think Canada takes pride. Look at World Juniors. This year was a fiasco again. And by the way, they just kind of reshuffled everything today about their front office and all that kind of stuff for years to come there with, hockey operations and, all that, all that kind of stuff. But I think this is obviously not related to World Juniors. I'm saying that Canada's going to want to go out there and show that, hey, we are still, at the top of all the nations and no different than, the Americans are going to feel the same way.
We'll see. We'll have to see when it actually all gets started. I do want to get into the U.S.'s roster in just a second here, but I do have a question for you, and I don't know if you care about these things. Who has the best jersey? Who has the best jersey at this thing?
God, you're putting me on the spot. Somebody said today, like, oh God, Canada's the worst jersey ever. And I tend to agree a little bit because
I don't like it either. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm big like Canada. I grew up in the in the 80s Canada Cups, and that weird whatever the leaf there sideways was awesome. And I kind of anything since then, again, that I'm mad they took away the red line, so I get to be stubborn and really it's just I can't let things go. You know what I mean? But I didn't like. I don't like that one. U.S. is always clean and nice. I mean, in a sense, but I don't know why. I've always liked since I was little. I've always liked Sweden. You know, I don't know if it's the yellow and the blue there. It's just different. It's not something you see all the time. So I'm always attracted to the Swedish jersey, and you know, maybe to give you an answer so I don't sit on the fence there, I'm going to go with Sweden as my favorite jersey, not team, just jersey.
Fair enough. I'll take Finland's jersey. You can have Sweden's. We'll call it even.
All right. See, we're getting away from North America. So.
Yeah. Even in Europe, me and he are still
Yeah.
rivals, apparently. We are going to take a quick break here as we are brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Toyota. Maybe you're making the road trip up to Montreal or down from Montreal to Boston for the Four Nations, and Toyota can get you there. They've got a vehicle for everybody, 17 different all-wheel drive vehicles. So if you're driving through the snow like we're getting right now, it'll take care of it. Won't even be a problem for a Toyota. Of course, also 16 different hybrid vehicles, which is the most of anyone you can find out there. That'll get you where you're going and save you some money on gas. So why not jump in with a Toyota today? Again, they've got a vehicle for everyone. They're the official vehicle of us here at DNVR and the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. So go find your local Front Range Toyota dealership today, including AutoNation Toyota, Rapo, Centennial, Corbin Toyota, Boulder, Groove Toyota, Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, the official vehicle of DNVR is Toyota. Let's go places. Once you've made it to where you're going, one of the places you want to stop in at is Live Well. Go jump in with Live Well today. Get in with them. All they want to do is make sure everyone has access to cannabis and is living well. 25 different locations here in Colorado to choose from. So there's one near you no matter what. You can order online for in-store pickup if that's your thing. And when you do get in store, use code DNVR25 to get 25% off one full-priced item. They have great professional staff that'll help you out no matter what you need. And they're just super fast and easy to use. So get with Live Well today. Make sure you're using that DNVR25 code for whatever items you might be looking for. And of course, restrictions do apply, but make sure you're living well. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's bring up that Team USA roster and kind of the opposite. Well, I don't want to say the opposite of Canada. I'm not telling you that their roster isn't good. It's really, really good. But in goal, kind of the opposite. You have the reigning Vezina Trophy winner in Connor Hellebuyck. He looks like he's about to repeat. And even then, behind that, you have Jake Ottinger ready to roll, who is having a pretty darn solid year himself, even if the numbers aren't all that spectacular. You look at the actual lineup. I don't know, am I just old caveman Rudo in thinking that their decor is a little soft?
Yeah, I mean, I okay. God, let's compare the first team, Canada, which is the one we talked about in the last segment, and this one, right? So,
Yep.
Not to discard the other two. That's not what I'm saying. But since we've
We'll get
already
there.
talked about Canada, yeah, I think it's clearly an advantage in the net, like you just said. It clearly an advantage in my book. And you're gonna say, yeah, they've never won a cup. Hill has, Binnington has. I get it. But Connor Hellebuyck right now, today, is the best goalie in the National Hockey League. So right away, and Ottinger been real solid last few years, and Swayman, obviously a weird year this year for him, but we all know he can take over a game, and especially in that type of one game, like, again, it's such a short tournament, you know what I mean? So anybody can get in there and steal games. But again, I'm anticipating Hellebuyck to be playing, and I'm sure they have a plan. If it goes south, what do they do? Who knows? Maybe they're just sticking with Hellebuyck. I don't know, but clearly they have the advantage. On D, you're right. For me, Team Canada is the advantage. Best player on the planet, Kel McCarr, Tays, some familiarity right there. Right there, you don't have any guys that are familiar with. And somebody was talking about. Sorry about that. Somebody was talking about chemistry, right? And that goes for every team. You know what I mean? And maybe Canada's loaded up front, and we all know we've seen it. Here you go. It could derail Team Canada. I agree. Because there's such firepower up front, and the combinations, are obviously a little bit bigger up front than on the back end. Sometimes it can be a little more simple on the back end because you play a simpler game. But I'll tell you one thing: if sometimes it just doesn't work. Maybe Connor, it's not going to work with Eichel there. Who knows, right? I mean, I'm sure that they've put a lot of thought into it. I've listened to the coaches; they're talking about that, and they've put a lot of thought. They've put a lot of input from different coaches, and that's why I was making fun of all the coaches they have and GMs and everybody. Everybody can add a little bit. Oh, well, actually, Matthew can do this because sometimes he's better at with this type of player than that type of player. You know what I mean? So I think a lot goes into it. The problem is if it doesn't connect and it doesn't gel right away, what's your plan? You know what I mean? Because you might have to adjust on the fly. And what are you adjusting to? You've never seen. Bednar talks about it all the time. Oh, that's why sometimes, remember Gerard was playing with, was it Kale or Taze a few years ago? And it's like, in case we ever need to do it, right? You're doing this doesn't exist. You just got to jump into it, and that's what's kind of crazy about it. But you're right. The back end, it's a little bit, I don't know. We'll see. But there's all good skaters, and you got the lefty righty as well there. So that seems to be something that both teams have looked at. And, obviously Sanderson has been added with Quinn Hughes withdrawing with obviously the thing that he's, dealing with his injury there. So, but all can skate, all can move the puck. Slavin's a more shut down guy than the other guys, but, they got some bite in McAvoy. Other than that, not a lot of bite like you were going to for your original comment. I agree with you,
I do think it's interesting. Like, obviously, there's a ton of firepower in this team. There's a ton of firepower on every team in this. But you saw some active decisions from Canada to go out and bring someone like a Sorelli, to bring some shutdown guys on the forward side, too. It doesn't really feel like the USA went with that option. It feels like they brought as much firepower as humanly possible and are just going to rely on their goaltending and trying to put the puck in the back of the net.
Yes. Different. You can tell. It's just easy to see by your comment as well there that there was two different methods. Used to pick the. But then again, JT Miller's got a little bit of that. Kind of a dog too. He's got some dog in him.
Not the same, but I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And maybe even Trocheck sometimes at times, obviously he's going to have to be like, hey, this is the role you're going to play there. Can you play that? Can you adjust to that? And, leave the Eagles out of the door. Somewhere, somehow, there's only, the one thing about the tournament is they're not playing 90-minute games. It's still 60 minutes. You know what I mean? And those guys are, a lot of those guys are used to having 20, 25 minutes of ice time. Well,
there's only one puck
it's not
out
going to
there.
happen.
Yeah.
There's one puck. It's not going to happen. And can you adjust to that? We talk about Blackwood with the Avalanche. Can you adjust to going 15, 18, 20, minutes with one scoring chance against? But that's the same thing with these guys. Can you adapt to all of a sudden, Vinny Trocheck, you're going to be playing 8 minutes? You know what I mean? Where all of a sudden you're with the Rangers and you're playing. And again, I'm not saying he's going to play 8 minutes. I'm just saying it's math, right? Somebody's going to play 8 to 10 minutes. I don't know who it is, but somebody is. You know what I mean? But they're all guys that are playing a lot of minutes. So you're going to have guys that just all of a sudden, and again, it's the old Herb Brooks line, right? It's not it's not individual players. It's I'm trying to put the best team out there, and I think that's what they went with, Billy Guerin and company, trying to do that. But you can tell that they used maybe a different equation than the guys with Team Canada did.
Here's a Homer thought for you, E. If you get to the end of this year and it's a deadlocked tie for the Norris Trophy, does Cale Makar get brownie points for actually playing in this tournament, unlike Quinn Hughes?
Well, I mean, yeah, God, this is like, yeah. But you're right. Quinn Hughes, as I think it waited on him. I mean, I was listening to Pat, their friend of the show, Pat Brisson, his agent, talking about it, saying that it wasn't like easy to say like, oh, I'm going to withdraw. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get what you're saying, and and again, you want to see best on best. Somebody said that earlier on the show, right? Again, I agree with that. It would have been nice to see all the top guys and add a couple more countries, but especially for the four nations that are there. But unfortunately, because of the season, because of the obligation you got to your teams, and sometimes the logical decision will be, again, Austin Matthews. He's been, dealing with something pretty much all year, right? Do we know? Is he good? Is he? I don't know. You know what I mean? But then again, that's what happens. All of a sudden, you do something there, and you're not there the rest of the year for your team. And again, knock on wood, we don't want that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's the fear you have, right? When you're with the rest of the league as your management hat on and coach hat. It's like, whew, cross your fingers and just hope for the best that nothing happens. And that's not just for the Avalanche, that's for anybody. And yes,
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Werenski. Absolutely. Unbelievable player, having a phenomenal year, finally healthy. And this guy's a stud, always been. He just kind of got, put down a little bit with his injuries over the years, and in Columbus not being very good over the years as well. You know what I mean? So obviously Columbus is having a better year, and there's a reason for that. It's because Werenski's been out of his mind.
Werenski, one of the elite goal-scoring defensemen in the league. Right now in the league, goal-scoring defense is probably Makar, probably Yossi second, and then probably Werenski third. So
yeah,
he's right up there. Yossi, of course, not at this tournament because he is from Switzerland. So does not make the cut, which is why we needed a Team Europe. But let's move on to Europe a little bit here. And I want to talk about Team Finland first, because I think Team Finland has a lot of interesting storylines coming into this tournament. Obviously, the Avs-related side of it being Mikko being on the team alongside Lehkonen. They're not playing on the same line, it looks like, based on practice today. Lehkonen was working on the second line, swapped with Aho there. But
the fixer.
Yeah, the fixer. The crazy part is Arturi Lehkonen might be the smallest guy on this team, and Arturi Lehkonen is not small. Finland is just a team of gigantic human beings. So I don't know how they do it, but...
Again, I read it earlier on the corner of my eye there. Don't sleep on Finland. This is the type of team, this is the type of tournament that, you know what I mean? Like, people maybe don't pick them, but all of a sudden, they played a lot. Again, USA's been like that too. A lot of those kids played for NTDP, and like Kachuk Matthews. I mean, all those guys played together, but those kids all the same thing. A lot of them grew up together with those international teams, but I'll tell you one thing: you got Sasha Barkov that can, neutralize a lot of stuff there. But are they as deep as the other two that we just talked about? They're probably not, right? You know what I mean? Not that Armia's not good and Lundell. I mean, Lundell's a great. I know you love Lundell. You know what I mean? Or Granlund for that matter.
I actually didn't like Lundell at all when he was drafted, but I've come around on him.
No. Yeah, no, you've come around on him, and he's been great, and he's won right now, and it's like all of a sudden they might not be as deep as other nations, but it comes down to, again, goaltending. Who's going to play there? Is it Saros? You know what I mean? I'm assuming it's going to be Saros. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I assume so. I don't know.
I'm assuming, and I like UC Saros. And again, that type of tournament, he can get out there and lock it down, and next thing you know, he's stopping everything. You just need to have a good 7 to 10 days, right? So, but they're again, Barkov and Mikko and like you said, the fixer and but the depth is not. I think it's very noticeable. You don't need to be an everyday hockey connoisseur, to see that the depth is not comparable. That doesn't mean they're not good players, but they're built.
Joel Armia playing against Anthony Cirelli. You're like, come on.
Yeah. But then again, does that favor them? Because all of a sudden, some of those guys are used to playing not that many minutes, and maybe it helps them become a team quicker. I don't know. That's for the for the front end. On the back end, I mean, it's pretty blah, right? I mean, I'm not being rude. It's just pretty blah,
Heiskanen going down was a huge problem for this defense.
Yeah.
It was already thin, and without Heiskanen, it's pretty darn rough. I don't have a great answer for it. Like, if you go look, someone was tweeting about it. Their top power play unit is running 5 forwards. Like, that's how thin they are on defense.
Oof. I mean, yeah. And you can see why they didn't want to go with some different countries as well that are not, like for example, like, not here to pick on Germany or, I mean, like, so they kept it down to Four Nations. And wow, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit thin. Like, it's not up to snuff compared to the other guys. And again, I think if you're gonna bet on the Four Nations and say, oh my God, I'm gonna lay it on the line, and this is the team that's gonna win. I don't think people are gonna pick Finland. You know what I mean? Even though I agree, we shouldn't sleep on them.
I'm picking Finland.
All right, that's what I'm saying. But I don't think they'll be in the favorites if you show 100 people down the street say who you voting for. I don't think Finland will be at the top of the list. But I agree not to sleep on them because this is a different type of tournament.
Yeah, if you look at international results as of late, Finland just finds a way to grind games out, win games 2-1, do the little details so well at international events. And they don't win them all, of course. Sometimes they get overpowered by Sweden or Canada or whoever, but they consistently are one of the hardest teams to beat internationally over the last, at least since 2020, probably more like 2017, 2018 is when they really started to rise up the ranks like that. So I do think they're in an era, they're kind of in a golden era of hockey right now, Finland, that is, where I think they have a lot of pride in putting on that jersey the same way you were talking about Team Canada does. So I do expect if there is a team that's going to play really hard, I think it'll be this team.
Well, I mean, you're right. I think there's a lot of pride there. Smaller nation as well, and they we haven't talked about Sweden, but there's a lot of pride in that nation, and they've had some sort of success, right? Internationally over the years, they're always respectable. They're always decent, and they always produce. Look at the great Miko, like that we've been so lucky to watch for so many years in Colorado. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many. Like, look at Laine. Somebody's talking about Laine. Laine sometimes can go dormant for 10 games and score on the power play. But this is the type of tournament. Obviously, he gets hot, like we saw his first 10 games with Montreal this year. All of a sudden, he snipes 1 or 2 a game on the power play, and you know what I mean. And that's, again, his 5-on-5 play is not the best. But all of a sudden, if he gets hot and then the goaltending gets hot, then again, we all know about goaltending and power play. Special teams.
Look who they have him with. You have a Barkov, you have a Lehkonen, you have an Aho. That they have a bunch of guys that are defensively responsible, if not defensively elite, to play around a Rantanen and a Laine who maybe don't have that defensive edge to their game. Again, the depth is going to be tough. They're going to have to grind it out and just play true depth roles to get that part of it done. But I do think it's a well-built team with what they had. So, all right. We still have Team Sweden to get to here.
Oh, yeah.
So let's take a look at them. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about Team Sweden. I just talked about Finland maybe being in their golden age of hockey. I do think a large part of Sweden is starting to age out. When you look at their defense, Hedman, Ekholm, Karlsson, all very good players, but all on the wrong side of well, I shouldn't say the wrong side. Let's say the back 9 of their careers. And yeah, they have pieces in there. They still have Dahlin. They have a Forsling who's not young, but he's not old either. But I do look at this lineup and wonder how much time is left on the clock for some of it.
I agree. Again, you're looking at this, it jumps at you like the back end is older. I'm a big Hedman fan. I'm still is. But pardon me. But Hedman is on the back 9 for sure. If you're looking at Brodin, is on the back 9. Karlsson's definitely on the back 9. Ekholm, with his
Yep.
big beard there. He's definitely on the back nine. And I'm a big Rasmus Anderson fan. I think we were talking about Jarvis on Team Canada up front, bringing a little bit of personality to the lineup. Well, this is their personality right there. Rasmus has got a personality, you know, and then you got Dahlin. That's the, you know, excellent, you know, skater and puck mover. And that's one of the difference. And Forsland, which, you know, God, is
Yep.
there a nicer story the last few years than Forsland? So it looks for them. They only have two righties though. You know what I mean? So it's funny compared to the other rosters that were lefty righty, lefty righty, lefty righty. This is, you know, lefty lefty, lefty righty, and then the extra one's the lefty. So only two righties on the back end. Who knows? I'm not saying that Brody can't play right. I'm just saying physically, you know, the person is a lefty or a righty. Only Tyson Berry could play a little bit of both sometimes. You know, I've never seen a kid like so good with the wrong stick. But you know, I mean that's for another different pod. But yeah, and again, they're back in and their goaltending. I mean, you know, I would have told you Allmark has again been hurt all year. It's not like he's played a lot of hockey this year. And
Yeah.
who knows? You know, and Urson and you know Gustafson. You know, they, I mean, you're talking about the numbers where they are in the league this year. There's no way these guys are towards the top end of the charts, right? You know, so so that's where all of a sudden. I mean, Gustafson's having a tough
Gustaf's been good.
year. You like his numbers are good.
He's been good. He's not like
Really?
out,
Okay.
yeah, not
Like
not
he was.
like
He was lights out. You know. Yeah.
not like Blackwood levels or anything crazy. He's not pushing top 5 or anything, but he's got solid numbers. Erson and
All right.
no, Erson struggled.
No. And Allmark, he can't even. I mean, God, he's been hurt all year, so it's kind
Yeah,
of hard to,
he's not even going to play. It's whatever.
Is that what they're saying? Like, I don't even know. Like
I
don't
could be.
even know.
That's the last thing I saw, but I maybe
I was
you know,
reading. Yeah. I know.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
of
have the
course.
inside track, but
Yeah, and then up front, you know what I mean? Like you're talking about, you know, you're right now on this list. Again, I'm not that first line, second line, third line, fourth line, as you know. I'm not that type of guy. But if you're looking on the chart, there's first liner. Mika Zibanejad's having a really tough year. He's had a little bit of a resurgence lately, but it's been a long year. I mean, wow, it's been tough at times, and you know, Raquel is, you know, been okay, I guess. You know what I mean? And so is Forsberg, and they're good players. But I'm saying it's not like
Yeah,
they're
of
lighting
course.
up the league. You know what I mean? And Kempe, you know, obviously it's the guy that I've. Every time I say his name, I always talk about it. That's the guy I was the most wrong on in my history in scouting. You know what I mean? I really didn't like him, didn't think anything would come of it. Now he scores 30 to 40 a year and just kind of makes me look bad. But, and Nylander, I love, as you know, I love his swag, I love his style. But it's definitely a different type of roster than the
Yeah.
two North Americans ones, you know.
Yep. Hi AJ, go back on vacation. Yeah, 100%. Landy would drop into this lineup super easily if he was healthy. Someone like Arvidsson is pretty easy to drop off the lineup. To your point though, Nylander feels like the only real elite player in this lineup. Zibanejad, sure, but he's having a really, really down year. Pettersson is supposed to be, but he's never really lived up to the hype. You have someone like Eriksson Ek, who I guess is having a good year, but a good year for him is, does that even put him in the elite category? It just feels like it doesn't have the high end that all of these other lineups have.
100%. And no offense, and I'll pick on some names here, you know, Gustav, Nyquist, and Arvidsson. And, you know, I'm not saying they haven't had good careers in the NHL, but if their names were, for example, you know, you and I's last name, and you know what I mean, they wouldn't be part of Team Canada or USA in my book. You know what I mean? So,
No chance.
That tells you right there that Sweden is not as deep as Canada and US, and maybe more comparable to Finland. Now, that doesn't mean that, again, it's 60 minutes of hockey. It doesn't mean, like, again, that I'm pushing these guys aside and they have no chance. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're talking depth and analyzing rosters. There's certainly a big difference in my book between those 4 teams and pick one as USA and pick one as Canada, whatever you want. And certainly 3 and 4 is Sweden and Finland, depth wise, in my book. Depth wise, anything can happen, but boy, oh boy, there's certainly a more star-studded presence when you look at it. Like, oh wow, and everybody's talking about it right now. Did you see Canada's PP1 at practice? And what I mean, like everybody's talking. I don't think you're really feeling that with those last 2 nations here. In my, again, not picking on those 2 because they could easily win. Absolutely, anybody can win. There's 4 teams, So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a little bit of that at the top of Finland. Rantanen, Laine's, there are guys you feel like can pop off at the top there. Less so here. It's pretty much just Nylander and I guess Forsberg are your top 2 guys that you really feel like have that level, whereas Finland backs it up with guys like Aho. You have more options there. Again, not as much firepower as Canada or US, but of the 4, I think Sweden's ceiling is the lowest. I think they're probably also deeper than Finland. Finland's bottom end is really, really low for a tournament like this, but we'll see at the end of the day. They got to go out and play the games ultimately. So
I got a stupid question. Again, knocking on wood here. A stupid question because this is the first time we see this format, see this thing in mid-season too and not summer for that type of tournament. But injury-wise, is there guys that, let's say there's, again, we've seen it before. We live in Avalanche land, 3 guys get hurt, you know what I mean? Like, and there's 1 spare. Like, is there more than, is it just 1 spare? Or there's other guys that are standby too? Like, please don't go to Cabo, you know what I mean? Like, please stand by. I don't know.
I
can you add
assume
guys, or is that, it's got to be, right?
I don't actually know the rule, but I would assume they have some dudes on call if they need it. So.
They got to be. I mean, I was just thinking of that quickly there. I'm like, man, you know what I mean? I was reading like Scheifele was on, like, hold up, you know what I mean? Because of Crosby and, you know what I mean?
Don't leave.
Him. Yeah, don't leave, But then again, I don't know. I didn't read into it. That's why I was just kind of, I was so focused on the NHL season and everything. And, you don't really look into those little things like that if something happened. I mean, because stuff happens, as we know. So. It'd be interesting to see. Hopefully, it doesn't have to come down to that.
Hopefully so. We do have 1 super chat to get to before we get out of here, which I'm gonna need Tiff's help with to pull up. But while we're waiting for that, is it cold in Boston?
No, it's beautiful. Like I said, it
must be nice.
Pot yesterday was awesome. Bean Pot Monday was great.
And
obviously, 4 Nations coming here next week and be on site there for some fun. We'll get some people, and it's going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. And then obviously, after that, coming back to Denver after the break. So be good.
All right. Our super chat from the incredible Drew. So being Canadian, of course, I hope we win, but I hope Binnington lets in every shot he faces in the net. Take care, guys. I'm good with that. Canada's winning games 20-19, and Binnington's giving up 15 goals a game. I can accept that. I can accept that outcome.
Yeah, why not?
All right. I want to wrap it up. No deep thoughts. Just give me a ranking. I know you ranked the rosters, but how do you think the finish goes? 1 to 4.
I'm going. All right, I'm sticking to it. USA won on American soil. In Boston, was it the 19th? I don't remember the last date, but anyway, or 20th, whatever it is. And I'm going Canada second. I'm going to go Canada US final, and I'm going to go 3 Sweden, 4 Finland.
Okay, I'm going Finland 1.
I love it. You and me.
I think Finland's going to grind it out. I think they're going to grind it out. I'm taking USA 2 though. Canada 3 and Sweden 4. That's my order of operations for this one.
Makes sense, right? Again, I'm suspect on Canadian goaltending for this tournament, and that's why I'm having them lose the final. But you're right. Could easily go down to 3 or 4. So, and that goes for any team, by the way. So, I wish we knew. We could go and make a big bet on it right now. If you know what the 4 going to be, but so we'll go from there.
I wonder if you could bet on all four. That'd be interesting if you could get the whole lineup. Anyway, we are going to wrap up today's show. We appreciate you hanging out. Shout outs to E for kicking the show off while my internet was being stupid to start off the show, but we got it together. We appreciate y'all. We will be back tomorrow. We'll do our show before the games, so we'll probably maybe preview the games a little bit and talk a little bit of Avs news or options or things like that. So we appreciate y'all hanging out. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.